Hi guys, this is Mr. Urrego, and today we're going to learn how to graph polynomial functions using behavior, zeros, and multiplicity. We have a couple of functions that we're going to graph today. Let's go. Our first graph is negative x cubed minus x squared plus 4x plus 4. But what is our first step? We got to find the end behavior. But hold on, what's the end behavior? The end behavior is nothing more than how is my graph going to look on the left side and the right side. The middle, I do not care. You see that I don't have anything in the middle? Nothing in the middle. Now, how do I know which of these four I'm going to use? It depends on our degree. What's the degree? The highest exponent in my function. In this case, this is a cubic function. It has a 3. Degree. Got it. In this case, it's a 3 odd. So even? No. So I can cross all this out. Next, I look at my leading coefficient. Leading coefficient is any number in front of the term with the highest exponent. In our case, we have a -1. Okay, so now I know that it's odd and that is negative. Therefore, this is how my graph is going to behave on the left side and the right side. So the end behavior on the left side is going to go up, on the right side is going to go down. Do I know the middle? I do not. We'll find out. Next, I got to find the zeros and the multiplicity. Zeros, what is that? The zeros is the values of x. So I have to factor and find the values of x. And then once I find the zeros, I got to find the multiplicity. The multiplicity is how many of each do I have. If I only have one, then that means my graph is going to cross the x-axis. If I have two, let's say I have 2 zeros, I'll show you that in a minute, then my graph is going to touch the zero and bounce back. Touch it and bounce back. If I have 3 of the same, then it's going to cross, it's still going to cross the x-axis, right? The whole idea is with the x-axis because these are the zeros, the x-intercepts or solutions. Same name for all of them. X-intercept. So if I have 3 of the same, it's going to cross, but it's going to behave like a cubic function, all right? Let's find out what happens with us. That means that I have to factor this. So I have 4 terms, that means I have to do grouping. I take the first 2 and the last 2. Make sure that this sign is inside the parentheses. And then I do GCF on each parenthesis. Negative x squared in the first one, don't forget the 0. And then I have x plus 1. And then I take a 4 out of it. And then I have an x plus 1. And we're doing grouping, that means these 2 parentheses have to be the same, which they are. And then I take the other one, which is negative x squared plus 4. And this is equal to 0. Once I factor, I can keep factoring or just find the values of x. From here, x plus 1 equals 0, therefore x equals -1. And the other side, negative x squared plus 4 equals 0, minus 4, so negative x squared equals -4, divided by -1, x squared equals 4, and then square root. That means x is plus or minus 2. So I have 1, x equals 2, and I have x equals -2, right? So now, how do I know if I'm doing this right? I have 3 zeros, 3 x values, -1, 2, and -2. What was my highest degree? 3. The 3 will tell me how many zeros I have. Either they can be real numbers or complex numbers, but that's for a different lesson, I guess. So right now I have 3 zeros. How many x -1s I have? 1. So my multiplicity is 1, which means it's odd. Same thing here, only 1. Same thing here, only 1. So I have 1 of each. Therefore my multiplicity is 1. So according to my chart that I did, that means that these zeros and -1 is going to cross the x-axis. That's what the multiplicity odd means. All right, let's keep going. Now next step is step number 3, y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, I make the x 0. So to find the y-intercept, I make every single one of these 0. So if you notice, if I have something 0, that's going to cancel. 0, 0, 0. What's left? My y-intercept is equal to 4. Okay, next step. plot the zeros on the y-intercept. Now that I have the information here, what I need to do is bring it here. So let's bring back the zeros. Now, if you remember, we only have one of each. So I only have one of this, 1x equals -2 and 1x equals 2. That means my multiplicity is 1, which is odd, right, for each one of them. So I have to remember that when I plot my zeros. -1, -2, 2. Remember, those are x-intercepts. Y-intercept is 4. Now I have this. Now that I plot this information on my graph, I need more points. So I need to find intervals. What are these? Before and after every x-intercept. Now let's get our intervals and test values in between those intervals. My first interval is all the way from -infinity until my first x-intercept, which is -2. Then in between those two values, -2, -1, then between -1 and 2, and then between 2 and infinity. So my intervals are defined by my x-intercepts on my, obviously, my x-axis. Okay, now on each one of these, what I want to do is I want to get a test value. Okay, because remember, I need more points on my graph. So from here, I'm going to get an x value and a y value. So x value between -infinity to -2, I'm going to choose -3. It can be any value. Between -2 and -1, -1.5. Between -1 and 2, -1 and 2, I already have the 0, so let me choose the 1. And between 2 and infinity, I'm going to choose 3. If you want to choose more points, you can do so. Now I need to plug this information on here and get the values. If I plug -3 on my function, I'll get +10. If I plug -1.5 here, I'll get -0.88. Let's round it. Next one, 1 is going to give me 6, and 3 is going to give me -20. Once I have this, I plot these values again over here, -3, 10. -3, 10 comes out of my graph all the way up there. -1.5 is -0.88, so almost a -1. 1, 6 up here. 3, -20, all the way down there. So the idea is that this is showing me how my behavior is. Now let's go back to my behavior. According to this is odd, negative, so my left hand was up and the right hand was all the way down. So it makes sense according to the points that I have right now. Now, because my multiplicity on each one of these is odd, therefore it's going to cross. So look at this. Now I have to connect my points with a smooth curve. It's crossing, touches, smooth curve. Remember, touch. And remember, they're zeros that you intercept because my multiplicity is odd and it goes down. So that's kind of a sketch of my graph. Now that I have my sketch of the graph, it's a good thing to talk about my turning points. N is the degree of the function. 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So turning points, and when my graph turns directions, here is going down, 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 and then it goes up. So here, this is a turning point, goes down and then up, turning point. Then it goes up, 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 and then goes down. So here's another turning point. So turning points is n minus 1 up to. This is the maximum turning points that I can have. And according to my graph, I have 2. So this is something that you can double check your graphs. All right, let's do another one. If you're with me, guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, ask questions. I will answer them. All right, let's go. Now we have our second graph. First thing is in behavior. We bring out a chart. Degree is 4, which is even. My leading coefficient is positive. Therefore, my end behavior is here. All right, so my graph, my left side is going to go up, my right side is going to go up. In the middle, I have no idea. Next, zeros and multiplicity. Multiplicity, I got to factor this out, find the values of 0, and according to that, I'm going to check here in this chart. So this factor, I have to make my f of x equals 0, bring down the x4, cube, factor. I see that I have a common factor of x squared. So common factor of x squared, x4 divided by x squared, I get an x squared minus x cubed divided by x squared is x, minus 6x divided by x squared, the x is cancelled. Don't forget the 0. I already have the factor. I gotta factor this trinomial, product and sum. Two numbers that you multiply, you get -6, and when you add, you get -1. Negative comes here, negative, negative, positive. My numbers are 3 and 2. Let's double check. -3 times 2 is -6. -3 plus 2 is -1. Don't forget the x squared. Don't forget the 0. I factor already. Once I factor, I have to find the values of x. So let's break all those factors. I have x squared equals 0, square root x equals 0, right? Plus or minus doesn't make sense right now because it's a 0. So here we go. But hold on. X equals 0. But where does this came from? It came from the x squared. I had to do a square root of this. Therefore, I have 2 of the same. Therefore, my multiplicity here is 2, which is even. Let's go. X minus 3 equals 0. Only one of this. Plus 3, x equals 3. Multiplicity, 1. Right? So I'm going to cross the x-axis. Here, the even one is going to bounce. Next one, x plus 2 equals 0. Therefore, the x equals -2. I only have 1. Multiplicity, 1, odd, so it's going to cross out. It's going to cross the x-axis. Our next step is to find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, I make my x 0. So this is going to turn into 0, 0, 0. Nothing. So my y-intercept is 0. Our next step is to plot the zeros on the y-intercept. I have my y-intercept. Let's bring the zeros. 0. Okay. 3. -2. Okay. My y-intercept is 0. So that's 0, 0. Keep in mind that my multiplicity at 0 is even. So remember that. Having this, we need to find the intervals before and in between every x-intercept. My first interval is going to be between -infinity all the way to -2. The next interval is between -2 and 0. And the next interval is going to be between 0 and 3. Remember, the idea is to get test values for these intervals. And the last interval is going to be between 3 and infinity. Now I want to have, or to get, test values in between these intervals. So we gotta choose. We have to choose the next value between -infinity and -2, -3. And then we plug it in into my original function. Between -2 and 0, -1. Between 0 and 3, we're going to choose 1. Between 3 and infinity, we're going to choose 4. Now I plug this value in here, and when I plug the -3 in there, I get 54. -1, plug it in there, I get -4. For the 1, I get a -6, and for the 4, I got 96. I need to plot these values. -3, -54, -3, positive 54, all the way up there. That's the whole thing that I want. I want to know from where is my graph coming. -1, -4, -1, -4, 1, 6, 1, -6, I'm sorry. 496, 496, all the way up there. If you remember in the beginning, I said this is even positive. Even positive, my behavior was up, up, meaning my graph, which makes sense, is coming from all the way up there, and at the end on my right side is going to go all the way up there. Now this -3, this value was multiplicity odd, this was multiplicity even, which is going to bounce back, and this was multiplicity odd, which is going to go through. So let's go. My graph, smooth curve, it goes through. And here, multiplicity even touches, bounce back. Okay, remember this is a sketch of my graph, and here it goes through. And now it goes all the way up there. So it makes sense. Not a pretty graph, but that's the idea. This is the sketch of my graph. All right, let's talk about the turning points. Again, this is degree 4. So n minus 1 is 3. I can have up to 3 turning points. Here's one, another one, and another one. 3, okay? 3 or less. Okay guys, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, make comments, ask questions, give me ideas for future videos. Alright? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.